being the captain of this team and trying to figure out a way how we can win a championship. That's my main goal right now. I feel like I talked about it yesterday. I tweeted out a couple of responses to people not understanding, you know, my knowledge of what it came from my brain and for me learning from the situation. I'm talking about it now, and I won't talk about it again because I'll be cheating my teammates by continuing to harp on something that won't benefit us. You know, trying to win a championship, because that's what we're here for. We're not politicians. I think it's a huge political thing, but we are leaders, and we can step up at times. But there's times where I'm not saying in this particular instance, but you know, if you don't feel like you should speak upon things, you shouldn't have to.
Welcome back to The Jump. You just heard LeBron's most recent response. This was in relation to more China-related questions in the aftermath of Daryl Morey's tweet and delete in support of the anti-government protests in Hong Kong. By the way, Kyrie Irving, who was also on that trip to China, elected not to discuss this topic or any topic for that matter today. He sat out of Nets media availability. He is scheduled to play in their next game, which is good news for anyone worried about that facial fracture, but he did not want to really answer questions like this in the Nets' first availability, and LeBron, as you can say, said he's kind of done with this too. What do you think of these players making this decision and saying, okay, we're done, we don't feel like we have to answer these anymore?
There's a big difference between what Kyrie did and what LeBron did. Like, not being available for any question whatsoever, that's different. But what LeBron did is he said, I addressed it, I'm not going to address it again. Now, as journalists, it's the journalist's job to continue to ask those questions. That's part of what makes this country great, is that we have a free press where people are going to ask the questions even when the person being asked the question doesn't want to answer it. We're seeing that play out a lot in a lot of different things in this country right now. But I thought what LeBron ended his statement with, which is something very important. I'm a firm believer that you can't conscript people into a cause that they don't know enough about. You can't, it's like the scene in Blazing Saddles where the governor's saying, harumph, 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 and then he looks, I didn't get a harumph out of you. We can't do that, because otherwise, if you do that, then you get people who aren't informed on issues having to make statements which can then be led to be manipulated for other reasons. So I'm with him on that. I think he addressed...
These photos, by the way, I just want to say, people are saying now, this was in Hong Kong yesterday, people upset with LeBron's comments from Monday, that's burning his jersey, things like that. So continue. As you say, when he talks, there can be a big reaction.
Yes, absolutely. And by the way, that doesn't mean that those people are wrong to feel upset or hurt or abandoned or whatever. But the point is, you can't force someone into a cause. They have to either believe it or not.
Right. And listen, man, I'm with Braun on this one. He shouldn't have to answer this question. Like, he shouldn't have to talk about this situation anymore. Like, first of all, he didn't start this fire. Daryl Morey started this fire. So why do LeBron James have to be the cleanup guy in this situation? Why do he have to address this situation? I can understand if Rob Pelinka says something that's part of his Lakers organization, but we're talking about a GM from a completely different NBA organization than Daryl Morey, who started this fire. And why do Braun have to clean it up? They had a press conference at the end of the game where Russ and James Harden was sitting up there, and a reporter asked them about it, and the PR from the Houston Rockets hurried up and cut them off and said, oh, no, we're not answering those questions. Why are those guys not held accountable about answering those questions about...
In all fairness, they did have 4 days of answering questions. That was by the 5th day. But your point about, hey, why is LeBron being asked about this over and over, I totally understand.
Right, like, it has nothing to do with him. Like, he didn't start this fire. He didn't send out a tweet and said, hey, you're asking him to voice his opinion about somebody else, another individual tweet out that has nothing to do with his organization or the team that he's on. Yes, it has everything to do with his job as far as the NBA, but I think that's Adam Silver's problem and not LeBron James' problem, in my opinion.
I mean, first of all, when we say someone feels strongly on something, it's in comparison to other things.
Right.
You can't feel strongly about everything. Right? Then that doesn't feel strongly. So I do understand when he's saying about, like, hey, or Steve Kerr said earlier this week, I feel really strongly about gun control because my father was gunned down and murdered.
Absolutely.
And, like, so I think we have to give some room to people who say, I feel strongly about certain things. I also don't want to live in a culture or a time where especially non-politicians or famous athletes feel that just because they do take part in our society, which is something I encourage, I don't love it when athletes say, oh, I just play the game. You are a citizen, you are an example, you are a role model. So I do think you have to come out and be a leader on some things. But I don't want to get to a point where we expect anyone, and by the way, I'm also including Daryl Morey in this conversation. I don't want to have to expect Daryl Morey, because he commented on the Hong Kong-China situation, I don't want to then have him have to comment on what's going on in his own state in Texas with immigration, what's going on in his own state with police brutality or people getting shot. I just don't think that once you speak about something, you then have to be accountable for anything if you're a GM or a player or everyone, because I would like to talk about basketball some of the time.
I'll give you a great example of this. We had an event in India this month. Great event. A lot of excitement, a lot of positivity. NBA in India is going to be the next big thing. They have issues in India too, in the Kashmir region, where there are things where, again, I'm just saying, there are conflicts there, and there are people there who feel persecuted, and there are people who feel like some people are rabble-rousers, or whatever it is. They've got issues, just like every other country. Are we going to say now, all right, no India anymore, because they got some stuff over there that we don't know too much about or whatever? My point is, there's an issue everywhere, and there's an issue that we can get upset about everywhere. Legitimately, I'm not trying to be flippant, but you can't, like you said, expect, like Steve Kerr's got to save the day everywhere. And if he doesn't save the day everywhere, if LeBron doesn't save the day everywhere, that means all the stuff that they do doesn't count. How does that make sense?
No, it don't.
Yeah, so I think we're kind of slowly evening out to that. I don't know how many days this controversy can rage on. I got to tell you, it definitely beat my expectations on how many days we'd be talking about it. But we didn't leave the show with it today, so that's something, and we'll see how much more we'll talk about it this week.
But surely.
It will, of course, be a continuing issue, though I think, for the rest of the season and beyond, I think it's opened people's eyes to the fact that these issues are complex, and it's something the NBA is going to have to continue to look at. And I encourage that. I just maybe would like to talk about basketball sometimes. Like right now, we can talk about Rob Mahoney's awesome article in Sports Illustrated. It's really good. One of their cover stories this week, and he writes about one of Houston's first team meetings this season. And it was sort of an indoctrination, right, into like the Rockets' way. Rockets assistant Brett Gunning praises the team for only shooting 4.2% of their shots from mid-range. And Russell Westbrook comes out and he says, wait a minute, we can only... Those 4.2?
That's mine.
Well, okay, those are all going to be mine then, because, right?
Russ.
Mike D'Antoni talked to SI about fitting Russ into their system. Who am I to tell Russ to change or tell James to change? They're MVPs, best players in the league. So we try to make them as efficient as we can, try to nudge them into the areas we think they can improve in, and we think that they can do better at that. I want to ask our researcher, Caesar, who's in the control room right now, was it 4.2% or 4.2 shots? Because that's what percent is 4.2%. Okay.
Shots, yeah.
I love Russ being like that. That's me. I'm all going to be that. But look, you played with Russ, Kendrick. Do you think that he will embrace this analytical approach from Houston?
Absolutely not. Russ is one thing I know about Russell Westbrook as a teammate and as a friend. He's not changing for anybody. And one thing about it, he's not going to change with this for the Rockets analytical and what they believe in. They're going to have to adjust to Russell Westbrook. If you look at Russell Westbrook numbers, the worst part of his game is his three-point shooting. So you have to build around him. He loves to attack the basket. He has a beautiful mid-range pull-up at the free throw line jumper. He loves to post up smaller guards when he have the advantage. And Russell Westbrook, it doesn't have to adapt to the Houston Rockets. It's Mike D'Antoni and the Houston Rockets are going to have to adapt and put Russell Westbrook in position to be successful.
I mean, that's one of the reasons why I'm not high on the Rockets, because these pieces don't fit. The system don't fit. Like,
no, hold on, man. Go ahead.
So Perk, let me put it to you like this, right? You got a guy who was 2 years removed from being the MVP, James Harden.
Okay.
Right? To me, the only way this works is if you take the ball out of his hands, you put it in Russ's hands, and you say, James, you got to play off ball.
Okay.
Do you think that's something that's okay, that he would be okay with?
Well, I mean, they proved that they could play together. We did
They proved it, but y'all proved it when though?
I know, but listen,
when we were young.
But they were young. But listen,
When my thumb worked.
But these are guys that have accomplished every individual accolade that they possibly can. The only thing that they haven't accomplished from that Oklahoma City team that we was on is a championship. KD got a championship. Serge got a championship. James and Russ haven't got a championship
You
yet.
already have one.
And before I got there. But now you're taking two guys that's still in their prime, former MVPs, and you teaming them up. This probably is the most dynamic backcourt that we ever seen in league history. I don't see how it won't work. And when you look at, one more thing, when you look at Russell Westbrook playing off the ball, you take him on the Olympic team when he played in the Olympics. Coach K had Russell Westbrook coming in as the backup two off the bench, and he flourished well in that system. If you look at Russell Westbrook, and I know it was just the All-Star game, the 2 times he won the MVPs of the All-Star game, he came in off the bench, and guess what? He came in as the 2 guard. So Russell Westbrook proved that he could play off the ball. Same thing with James Harden. He need Russell Westbrook.
Here's my thing. First of all, everyone's down for sacrifice until it doesn't work. And they say, I try to sacrifice.
Well,
now I'm going to do it my way. And that's the thing. It sounds nice unless they're not successful out the gate with it. And that's another thing. The thing about Russell Westbrook off the ball, it's the idea is that if the ball is in James's hands, as a defender, I can sag off of Russ a lot more than I could if it was opposite around because he can't shoot. And he doesn't move off the ball a whole lot. He's not cutting a whole lot off ball. Now, you can blame the system in Oklahoma City for that.
Nobody in Houston moves a ton off.
But that's my point. You can blame the system in Oklahoma City and say, oh, because they don't do that. But Houston doesn't do it either. Right. So this idea that now Russell Westbrook is going to start doing those Dwayne Wade ghost cuts where he just cut when you're not paying attention to him. I don't think that's believable or kind of something you could be expecting of it. He might, but he would have to change his game significantly. And I think that's the thing, is for this thing to work, one or both of these guys are going to have to change their game significantly. And again, that's easy to say when we're winning or when we haven't played games that are meaningful yet.
I feel better about there at least being a chance of that because of the friendship and the previous relationship that you're talking about. I don't know if it's going to happen.
You're talking about childhood friends.
At least.
You're talking about Cali boys.
At least give him a shot. I'd like to see it.